Christian McCaffrey getting paid the big bucks. Panthers just signed him to a 4-year extension worth $16 million per year. But what does this mean for Alvin Kamara? Should the Saints think about signing him? Or should they follow the tracks of their history and trade him and get something for him while they can now? I have my thoughts on it. Take a walk with me. So you're going to have to pardon the powder blue Panther colors. But to stay on topic, the Carolina Panthers are signing Christian McCaffrey to a 4-year extension that pays him $16 million a year. This is cornerback money for a running back. And people are, especially on the Saints, they're having a fit about it because guess who's up to be paid next? Alvin Kamara. And they do not want to see the Saints allocate that amount of money to a running back. And I get it. Running backs have a short shelf life, especially running backs that rely on athleticism more than they rely on size and power. Generally, those guys like Adrian Peterson tend to last a little bit longer in the league. Frank Gore is another name that comes to mind. They can generally last a little bit longer because they're not just dependent on speed. Similar to power pass rushers, they tend to have longer careers than speed pass rushers because once you lose a step, you lose a gigantic part of what makes you effective in the league. So last year we saw with Alvin Kamara, he got injured, he hurt his knee, had knee and ankle issues, and it pretty much sapped him of completely who he was, especially as a runner, as a receiver. He wasn't breaking tackles, did not have the same yards per reception. He was just not effective as a whole in what we know Alvin Kamara can be. So you find out about this and it's Alvin Kamara is gone. Here's the problem with that thinking, and I don't think that it automatically means he's gone. The reason teams were not paying running backs over the last decade and some change is because you were in the modern quarterback era. Let me run off a list of names for you. Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Alex Smith, Jay Cutler, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Carson Palmer, Matthew Stafford, Tony Romo, Phillip Rivers, Kurt Warner, Tom Brady. I mean, you could listen, at one point in time, there were nearly half the teams in the NFL that could say they could pass 60% of the time, which is what turned it into the passing league because you saw more passing. But in order to do that, you needed to have a quarterback that allowed you to pass the ball that much. So part of that era had to do with such elite to above average quarterback play that it made the ability to have running back by committees that much more palatable. You see, if you have a quarterback that is just as secure, he's even less of a risk than handing it off to the runner, and that quarterback is worth 4 to 6 yards per attempt, or 6. You don't really need a running back because on 3rd and 4 you can just pass the ball. 3rd and 6 you can just pass the ball, and there's a pretty good chance there's going to be a conversion there. So it devalued the running back. The problem is, if you look at that list, a lot of those guys are old, have retired, or in decline. Heck, I left off Cam Newton as I was just going through this list, who is in a transitional period in his football career where we don't know where he's going to be next. So the way that I see it, there's going to be a lot of average to below average quarterback play in at least the next 3 to 5 years. Now I understand that you still have guys like Jackson. You still have Deshaun Watson, Jackson from the Ravens. These guys, while they're approaching elite status, I don't think it's safe to say that they're elite yet. The guys that I talked about above, these guys, above average elite play, these guys, have been in the league putting up numbers for at least 7, 8 years before they were heralded as the cream of the crop. So it's a little too early to say that these guys are elite. I would say Russell Wilson is obviously in that elite category. You're still getting above average play from Aaron Rodgers, to above average to really good play from Aaron Rodgers. He's just not the same Aaron Rodgers he was years earlier. You're still getting a high level of play from certain guys, but if you fast forward 3 to 5 years, when the Roethlisbergers, he's gone. When Brady, he's retired. Drew, he's retired. Phillip Rivers, he's retired. Matthew Stafford, he's probably retired at aging. There's just simply not going to be that many elite quarterbacks in the league. Therefore, now the risk of passing the ball 60-70% of the time now becomes much more of a problem. Because can you depend on these quarterbacks to actually pass at that volume? Now, I don't think the league is going to, I do think that history repeats itself. I don't think the league will ever go back to teams running the ball 30-35 times a game. I think there will be enough teams that will still be able to pass the ball. But I think the time of the elite runner, or having running backs that carry the team, will start to show its face again. Even over the years, if you look at some of the running backs back during that era, you only had so many elite running backs. You can rattle off a lot of elite running backs right now. Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, running back for the Jets. I mean, you're seeing a lot more prospects. Nick Chubb. You're seeing more running back prospects that are high level prospects that can carry a load. Christian McCaffrey, that are coming out, that they can play that role. Now, they have to be runner receivers to actually maximize the value, so you won't see a lot of them that are just pure runners. But you have a lot of these guys, a lot of running backs, they were receivers at one point in time. So I think you'll see the evolution of the running back position. It won't be those old style runners that were just bruisers that, you handed the ball off to 35 times a game. No, you'll get this new breed of runners that are runners / receivers, which ups their value in its own way, because they don't necessarily have to take the full on pounding. You can still have that role for a big back that takes the in between the tackles pounding. But while they may get 11 touches in the run game, they'll see another 11 to 15 in the passing game, or 15 run game, 15 passing game, and you still see those 30, 25 touches per game that you like to see, but it's just not all battering ram between the tackles plays. And so I think you'll just see an evolution there, which means you're going to have to pay these guys, because you can't run RB by committee with shaky quarterback play. That only works with elite, above average, really good quarterback play. If you only have okay quarterback play, like say the San Francisco 49ers, when they had Colin Kaepernick, Kaepernick wasn't great. He was good. Frank Gore is what made that team really run. And you can argue now, looking back, that Frank Gore was an elite runner. Considering where he is in his career now, and this guy is still putting up yards and still finding a way to make the team, 8 years ago, he was an elite runner. And that's what you need when you only have okay quarterback play. You got to have elite runners. As the league progresses, as these quarterbacks, these elite, above average, really good quarterbacks start to leave, you will only have so many elite quarterbacks left. So many above average to good quarterbacks. Maybe less than a third of the league will be those types of quarterbacks. So you will need high level runners to carry okay quarterback play, which I think is going to be a reality at some point. Again, you will still have the Lamar Jacksons, you will still have the Russell Wilsons, you will still have the Deshaun Watsons, arguably Baker Mayfield if he gets his stuff together. Maybe as you see coming out, Joe Burrow, maybe Joe Burrow turns into an elite quarterback coming in. There's some guys that you can be, Kyler Murray, that you can be excited about, but again, you're at least 4 years, 3-4 years of consecutive good play before you even calling these guys great elite, before you're even naming them with the last era of quarterback. So they've got some proving to do before. And so for me, it's easy for people to say you don't pay running backs because they're thinking about an era that they were in that they don't realize is coming to a close. Would you sign Alvin Kamara to $16 million per year contract in 2011 with Drew Brees in that state? No. No, Drew's gonna pass the ball. Running back is only 40% he's gonna touch the ball, so chances are no. But would you sign Kamara to a contract worth 13 to 16 million now in a year ahead of time when this could be Drew Brees' last year, which means that your next quarterback is going to be a much lower cap hit? I think you do. I think you need an Alvin Kamara as a weapon to make life easier on the next quarterback. Now, if people want to argue how much to pay and the cap hit, that's fine. It's not your money. So it always interests me that people get tied to money that's not theirs. And if you're drafting well, and if you're always including young, cheap talent on cheap deals, it's also not a problem either. It's more of a problem for teams that don't draft well. So do I think that this automatically means Alvin Kamara is going to be on his way out? Absolutely not. I think Alvin Kamara is very valuable to this team right now, and he will be very valuable in the future. Do I think that the Saints will necessarily pay him at the $16 million a year range? Probably not, because he didn't have $16 million range numbers, statistics last year. And so this might be a time when you can get him on kind of a bargain. Maybe you pay him more than Elliott, somewhere in that range, but maybe not 16 million. He just didn't. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is the only running back to have 2,500 yards receiving and rushing from scrimmage in 3 years. I mean, he deserved what he got. And considering that they just went from Cam Newton to Teddy Bridgewater, they're going to need someone to take the ease off of Bridgewater. They're going to need weapons to take some of the pressure off Bridgewater to make things easier. It's much easier for a quarterback to work with 3rd and 4 than it is to work with 3rd and 9. And McCaffrey is worth 5 yards in 2 touches, 1st and 2nd down easily. So those are the things you take a look at. Alvin Kamara, I think, is going to get paid. I think Alvin Kamara is going to stay. Yes, the Saints have a history of trading running backs in the final year of their contract. They did trade Reggie Bush. They did trade Chris Ivory. They did trade Darren Sproles. But specifically, each of those had issues. Reggie never, at that point in time during his Saints career, he didn't average above 4 yards per carry. Alvin Kamara does. Darren Sproles was 31 years of age. Alvin Kamara is 26. Chris Ivory was not a multi-threat weapon. Alvin Kamara can hurt you in the pass and run. So the value is just there for Kamara to actually kick the trend that we've seen from the Saints in the past years. And then again, there's a simple fact. Drew Brees isn't going to be the quarterback forever. And that was one of the biggest determining factors. You had a Drew Brees. You're not guaranteed a Drew Brees after this year. And that makes Alvin Kamara that much more valuable. Take care.